Module 3 looks at the critical moments in the journey, from consultations and what to say to scans and treatment choices, and supporting your partner making the best decision for them. Some of these practical pointers are very much left to the carer, and having a guide as to how to manage these parts of the journey is really important. So let's get started. Critical moments of the journey. There are some critical moments of the cancer journey where emotions will be extremely high through fear and anxiety and it being a new situation. Recognise these and be there and be present. Keep an eye on the calendar and be aware of what is coming up in the coming weeks. This will help you to understand why your partner or loved one has been less tolerant or a little bit snappier or more emotional than usual. Remember that your loved one may find dates symbolic, for instance the day of diagnosis, the day of surgery, or indeed the day treatment finished. These may be important days to look out for in the future, as they may find them more emotional or just need a hug. Some of the side effects can be hidden and not so obvious. When someone is having treatment, their whole body is being treated and it impacts on their energy levels, their mood, right down to their blood cell counts. Often people are trying to remain upbeat for their partner, and they are fighting all of these symptoms even before they get to the point of dealing with their own cancer and the feelings of worry that surround it, which is natural. This in turn impacts on sleep, and there is nothing worse than sleep deprivation, especially when you need it most. The review at the end of treatment is filled with all sorts of emotions, from joy about completing the treatment to the start of a worry that whilst the person was having treatment, they were safe. This in turn sees the return of the what-ifs. What if it comes back? What happens next? What if I can't cope next time? What if they don't want any more treatment? Being prepared for these differing emotions and reflecting on what has happened over the last few months is really important. Give yourself some space to do this. As often, you will be swept along with a diagnosis and treatment and not have had time to think, to breathe, and to accept the reality. This is the time when you need to find the new way of being, and giving yourself time will help you find this. You have been through so much, and change has happened. Consultations. Sitting in the waiting room to see your consultant can often be one of the hardest things, and has been reported as a real stress inducer by many people. You will not be alone in this. Often it is the uncertainty, especially after experiencing a first diagnosis and realising you or your partner are not infallible. Think about ways that you and your partner can keep yourselves occupied at these stressful times, whether it is reading a book, a newspaper, or doing a crossword. People cope in different ways. On the days or the day before a consultation, do something you enjoy together. Go for a walk in the countryside, go out for lunch, watch a movie together. Find something funny that you can laugh at together. It will lift the mood and take your mind off the next day for a little while at least, and just give you a little bit more of normality. So an action for you. Write a list of the things that worry you, who can help you with these concerns. Sometimes these worries can be supported by health professionals, support centres, or support groups. Sometimes they are irrational worries that you may not have voiced before because you are scared to know the answer. But sometimes the answer is not as bad as you think it will be. The second thing I want you to do is to write a list of what ifs. So this can be anything that you're worried about that turn into a what if question. And then once you've written your list, I want you to turn each and every one of them upside down to make a positive. So, for example, what if the cancer returns? This is a really big fear for lots of people. But I want you to switch that. I want you to write down, what if the cancer stays away? Then we can go on holiday, do whatever you want to do, etc. But I want you to do this to each one and see how it feels and see what the outcome of switching it on its head actually is. How best to help in consultations? So what you really need to do is to plan what you think the conversations may be. Have in your head the things that are most important to the person or what they are most worried about. For example, they may have expressed that hair loss through treatment would be something that would be a really big thing for them. Sometimes this won't happen, or some of the things that they're worried about won't happen. And it may just be a thought that you have, but by asking the question, you realise it's not relevant to that treatment. So it's always important to ask. Listen, take notes, or record the consultation. Ask relevant questions related to how it will impact on your life. We will go into questions to ask later on, but at this stage, I just think you need to know that no question is a silly question. It may be useful to take some notes of key points to refer to at a later stage together with the information you will be given. Read the information and discuss it with your partner afterwards. Some people will be given options and choices, and you may need to look at the pros and cons of each treatment. This is really important, as every situation is different and everyone is an individual with different priorities that need to be accounted for. So make a list of the pros and cons and then discuss each treatment in that way together, and that will sort of help you build up a case for which type of treatment would suit you best, especially when you're given a choice, because that can be really stressful. At the end of a consultation, it is always good practice to ask what happens next. Who is going to call me? Who do I contact? And when is it likely to happen? And if I don't hear, who do I contact? This stops worry and uncertainty and getting lost in a vast system which is generally managed very well. But human error can occur, and if you feel you should have heard, you need to know how to get back into the system again easily. Be the eyes, the ears, and be the supporter, and be there to help your loved one. But remember, this is all about your loved one. Let them express what they need to. Let them ask what they want to, and make sure that they have had the time and cover the things that they want to cover. So here's an action for you. Think of the questions that you would want to ask. Perhaps discuss these with your partner beforehand and before you go into the consultation, and write them down. Scan appointments. Any cancer diagnosis will invariably mean that there will be scans, whether CT, ultrasound, or indeed MRIs. Scans often cause fear and anxiety in individuals, not just the outcomes, but the process themselves, in particular MRI scans. Please remember that the healthcare professionals within these departments are very used to helping people cope with the fear of the scans and will do all they can to support the individuals. As a carer, this will not fall completely on your shoulders. You should be aware that the scans themselves can cause anxiety, and your loved one may be anxious and stressed in the build-up to the scan, particularly if they feel claustrophobic. Sometimes people cannot cope at all, particularly with MRI scans. The radiographers who are used to this will spend time explaining the process to try and help. Sometimes the GP may prescribe some drugs to help calm the individual down. It is important to realise that the scans are important with the information that they provide, but ultimately, if an individual cannot cope with it, nobody will force them to have it. Remember your relaxation, meditation, breathing, and visualization techniques, and get your loved one to do this with you. Practice this before, during, and after the scan with your loved one. Encourage them to take some of their favourite music in with them, or get the team to play some music that will help take their mind off what they are doing, especially as they have to lie very still during this time.